My name is Shaniel Deo and I'm the CEO of Halfbrick. Starting Halfbrick was a long process. I had worked in IT for about 5 years, and it was around the year 2000 that the industry started to take off in Queensland, and the Queensland government started to introduce scholarships. I didn't get a scholarship, but I did the course, and at the end of that I met up with some like-minded people and we decided, why don't we take a crack and just start our own games company. 2001 we just went out and we set up a company and we just started from there. The first place that we actually started Halfbrick was in pretty much the basement of a house that I was renting. 4 guys jammed into a tiny room. Summer was not too good in that basement. Before the success of Fruit Ninja, we worked on many different projects. Most of them were work-for-hire projects for publishers. So they'd come to us and say, hey, we want a game based on this movie or this TV series. Usually pretty tight timeframes. So the guys early on, put in late hours many times. The key thing that drove the change from licensed projects to original IP was the fact that I didn't think it was sustainable, to continue along with that business model of doing work for hire.
I am Luke Muscat, I'm Creative Director at Pretty Great, formerly Chief Creative Officer at Halfbrick Studios. Before Fruit Ninja, the game I worked on directly before that was called Rocket Racing. That game was something that I was really passionate about. It was the first time I'd ever worked on something that was my own IP kind of thing, like something that wasn't a contract through someone else, and it was a massive failure and really didn't do well at all. It was a good game, but there was just no market for it whatsoever. So Fruit Ninja was literally, I went out to make the opposite of that game.
My name is Stephen Last. I started at Halfbrick when I was 19 years old in January 2009. Straight out of high school, I did a 2-year course straight into Halfbrick. The first project I worked on at Halfbrick was the Clone Wars Republic Heroes, a contract that Halfbrick had to develop the PC port of that game. Around that time, the work for hire was starting to dry up, and so that's why we just started delving into the world of indie, like in Xbox Live indie games. So it was a sort of a scary time, I guess, because there was there was a feeling that we sort of needed to make something good. All of the titles that Halfbrick had worked on, they were doing all right, but sort of got less and less contracts there.
A few months before Fruit Ninja, like maybe 4 months before, all the teams were separated and all the teams had their own set of financials. And we didn't have any work on the table for our team, and plus we'd had Rocket Racing, which didn't do well. And I'd been told, you have to make this much money this year for your team to break even. If you can't do that, then, what are the options? And so I sat down with my team and, I said, okay guys, look, here's the idea. We need to make $300,000 this year. Otherwise, probably get your portfolios ready. The studio at the time was really struggling. We'd all been hit very hard by the GFC and, we had no contract work coming in because it just completely dried up. The Australian dollar came right up against the US dollar. So, we used to be a really cheap source of labor and that went away. And that was just the reality of it. And so there was definitely that pressure. We had that feeling that, maybe not Fruit Ninja, but that year we had to make something happen for us to keep our jobs.
My name's Jason Harwood. I'm product manager of Jetpack Joyride. Previously, I was the producer of Fruit Ninja, Jetpack Joyride, Monster Dash, Fish Out of Water, and a few other games as well. Before we all went on Christmas leave, Shaniel got up and said, okay, we've rolled the dice. We had a crack at going on our own IP, so the decision was pretty much, go and have a good break, get refreshed, get ready, because next year we've literally got about 6 months to make something happen and come up with something, or we're going back to work for hire and we're going to have to lay people off. It was all going the wrong direction if we didn't come up with something good.
Over the course of Halfbrick, it's been 14, 15 years now. It's like a roller coaster. It's always up and down. There's so many times when, you're a small company, you're scraping the bottom of the barrel, and it's how are we going to pay everyone, in 2 weeks' time? You lie awake at night and you wonder what you're going to do to pay everyone. We always let people know what's happening, and I think it's important to give people an understanding of where we're at all the time, and also give them enough time and space to be able to make changes, right? So we did have that meeting. I think we had probably 9 months left to actually turn things around and start filling the gap from the work for hire projects. It was a tough meeting to have, to sort of tell everybody, okay, we have this limited period of time. But at the same time, at least everyone was armed with that knowledge and they could do their bit to try and make that change. And the guys that were still working on work for hire made sure that they hit all their deadlines and milestones, so we got paid on time. And the guys that were working on original IP were trying lots of different ideas to see what worked. All in all, I'm glad that we had that discussion and we let everyone know well in advance that we had some issues and we needed to make some changes, and obviously work hard towards that, and everyone did.
My name is Gatling. I'm a former designer at Halfbrick. I worked on Marvel Superhero Squad, Rocket Racing, Jetpack Joyride, and of course Fruit Ninja. So the first time I heard about Fruit Ninja was when Luke pitched it as our Halfbrick Friday project.
Halfbrick Fridays is like an initiative where anyone can pitch a game idea to the company, and then everyone sort of decides what they want to work on and join teams and sort of get some of those ideas up and running.
So my initial impression of Fruit Ninja was that it just seems too simple to work. I remember he'd made up a poster, it was Ninjas Hate Fruit, or he'd come up with some slogan.
The original tagline was the premier fruit murder simulator.
I really liked the idea when I first heard about it, like just because he originally sold it as like the ultimate fruit murder simulator. I don't know, it just sounded like a bit of fun, the way he talked about it.
And he sort of showed a few screenshots of what he wanted to build, and people wondered what the hell he was on and what he was talking about and who'd want to play this game.
Most people thought it was a really bad idea. Everyone was in that mindset of, this isn't a real game, it's just like a toy almost. I think that was one of the big things that drove people, at least developers, away from it early on.
My name's Shath and I was an artist at Halfbrick. I actually wasn't really into the game at first because I'm like, it's not the game, it's not that deep. We did Rocket Racing, which was our first IP together, original IP together. So I was like the primary artist on that. That was actually the reason why we made Fruit Ninja, I guess, because Muscat wanted to make something total opposite to that, because Rocket Racing was quite hardcore. So he had the idea to make a total casual game, something that anyone can play, like no matter what.
The idea for Fruit Ninja originally came from basically the late night TV commercial where it's like a commercial for knives, and there's this guy, I'm pretty sure his name's Chef Tony, and he's got these sweet Miracle Blade 3000 knives, and he's doing stuff like cutting a shoe and cutting a can. And one of the shots they have is they throw a pineapple in the air and cut it midair. Years later, it's actually buying a proper set of knives. We had these tomatoes and we threw them in the air and started cutting them midair because we're super responsible adults at this point. That was all sort of sitting floating in the back of my head.
We started to move to the iPhone. One of the things that we did was we looked at the other games that were around at the time, and a lot of them were very simple and they took advantage of the touchscreen. So we were really looking for games that were single screen, very easy to play because of the broad demographic, and really took advantage of the touchscreen. So we wanted to constrain people so they could think more creatively about something that would fit that particular device.
One of the things that Halfbrick did without even really realising it was we did a lot of training for exactly this moment. We've been working on making games for memory limited devices with small screens, with touch input. We've been doing that for years, right? And so when iPhone came along, it really played to our strengths, this new platform for us. At the time, there were no games that were using any kind of slice mechanics, or all the input was touch and tilt. There really wasn't a lot of innovation happening around how to interact with the device. And so that's where I think Fruit Ninja really sort of came into its own of that slice mechanic.
When we were kicking around ideas for iPhone games, I was like, okay, well, what kind of verbs seem natural for this? I was doing press and pinch and, swipe, and, what are other words to describe that kind of motion? And the thing that popped in my head was slice. As soon as I thought slice, I thought, how about, when we were doing that stuff with throwing the tomatoes in the air, the thing that kind of combined with that was, what if we could make a game that was like really gory, but like G-rated gore? And so that's where kind of the fruit angle came from as well, with it being really messy and splattery. And it's all about fruit and not about tomatoes and vegetables, simply because like fruit is delicious. It all sort of came together quite quickly as a concept, but yeah, when I pitched it, it was like, what, that's it? Slicing fruit, and I was like, we're slicing fruit, but what's going to stop you just doing this all over the screen? So, we'll put in bombs because bombs are bad, and that was the game. So the project just died because no one wanted to work on it with me. And then nothing really came from that Halfbrick Friday round, and we got in this weird position where the team really had to make something because we were running out of money. Joe and I came up with a whole bunch of different stuff, and Fruit Ninja was still on that list just from that previous idea, that previous pitch.
I was on from day one and helped program the original Flash prototype of the game.
So it was just Joe and I for a while, and so that was when we were just kicking around prototypes and making them in Flash. So we didn't have any programmers or artists.
Probably out of all the pitches that were presented at that Halfbrick Friday round, Fruit Ninja was the one that best summed up what the goal was for that particular round, which was, make a single screen game that your mum could play. Out of all the games, this is the one that really embodied that. When there was something to play, even the Flash prototype early on, and you played it, you could just feel straight away there was something about that game that was fun and it was rewarding and visceral, and it just kept you coming back, wanting to play more. When it came time to push that further, I was definitely behind it.
Once he made the prototype, we sent it around the office and everyone loved it. And yeah, then it pretty much from there on I joined.
Yeah, I didn't actually work on Fruit Ninja until we decided that we wanted to put it on iPhone. He'd already got a Flash prototype up and running, and so I had played a bit of that, and definitely you could see potential in it already.
I didn't think it'd fly. I wasn't one of the believers. There was only a few believers in the company, but didn't see how well that would translate to a game. Like playing it with a mouse, just didn't have that same visceral feel about it at all, and I kind of got it, but I didn't really get it. Once I saw it on device, I absolutely believed it, but when I saw the Flash prototype, I thought, God, it's way too simple.
The team that developed the first game was 3 people, Shath, Harwood, and Luke.
I think Shaniel was asking what I wanted to work on. I'm like, yeah, Fruit Ninja, that's where it's at. And I thought like, it'd be really fun to make all the colors and stuff. And there was no better project in the company, so.
I was just basically because I was sitting next to him and he'd seen what I'd been doing on Age of Zombies and felt like it'd be time that I joined that team.
Yeah, really small team, really short time frame. I think it was 6 weeks to get the game sort of built and ready, and then probably another 6 weeks to get all the marketing and everything lined up.
It was pretty rough shot back then, like we've gotten a lot better at using Scrum and our software development processes these days, but shipping that game in 7 weeks was pretty amazing.
At launch, it was so simple. It was just, all there was classic mode, which wasn't called classic mode because it was just the game. There was no combos or anything. We did have leaderboards and achievements in from day one with open feint, because that was a pretty big deal at the time. Literally, slice fruit, drop 3 fruit or hit a bomb, game over, repeat. There was no blades to unlock. No characters except Sensei. Sensei's OG. He's been in there since the beginning.
From my recollection, development was pretty smooth. I think the guys had some issues with just the tech. We ported our engine to the iPhone very quickly, so there were 1 or 2 issues there that needed to be resolved, but nothing too major.
One of the biggest challenges we faced was how people interacted with the game early.
The slicing the buttons thing was kind of a unique interaction no one had seen before.
Crazy to think of it now, but we were deliberately finding people who'd never even used a touchscreen phone before.
We took a build down to the local bus stop here and asked them to play it. And the general rule is with any kind of testing is that we just give the build to the people and we don't talk to them, we don't give them any prompts. 100% of people tapped the screen, gave the game back to me and said it doesn't work. And of course with Fruit Ninja you have to slice the screen to start, and that was probably testing about 20, 30 people. Everyone did the same thing. And I thought, oh my God, we're doomed. This is all over.
I personally thought it was really It was a really fun way to introduce players to the game, but a lot of players obviously didn't realise that these buttons, which you normally tap, you actually had to slice.
I brought that back to the lead designer, Luke. My solution was to put a tutorial in it. His was to detect when the player tapped the screen 3 times and play a simple animation of the finger slicing through. And that was the tutorial right there. And I thought that was really clever and yeah, elegance and simplicity kind of moment.
You learnt so much about the game through that. It just, and by comparison, you know, we would play test with people in the office, and people in the office were still in that kind of hardcore mindset, and they're like, you should add these kinds of strategies with the buttons and triggers and these power-ups and maybe like an upgrade tree and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And I mean, that is good for that audience, but you know, we had to be really careful to not listen to a lot of really smart people.
Within 3 weeks, we had a build that was pretty much shippable. Everything I made was pretty much one take. It was just like, fruit done, fruit done. There was no concepting or anything. It was because it was so easy to make, it just started, everything just flowed. Even Sensei, that drawing of him, I did it. That was the first drawing I did of it. No sketches or anything.
Sort of the interesting thing is seeing what remained, even though like was completely misconstrued and not actually the original purpose. Like there's these things called splats, and originally my vision was that they would come out from like pellets of like, you'd see the little pellet and then it would hit the background. And we tried that and it just didn't work. But that code, I believe, is still in there. All I did is just make them really fast so that you don't actually notice and you can't see them. But that's still sort of the logic that's going on. So there's some funny things in the code like that. It sort of just was the evolution as I was sort of writing it from scratch real quick. Would have been like still in like 20 years old when I was writing Fruit Ninja.
Leading up to our first release, it was all pretty easy. You know, we knocked it out, and then, you know, we had this idea for a trailer. It was right around when people started doing high budget trailers, and we were like, well, we'll do the opposite. We'll stand out in a different way. Bought $20 worth of fruit, and we went down to the park, and, you know, it all just kind of flowed so naturally.
How did you prepare for the role of Banana in the Fruit Ninja trailer?
Just put on the suit and that's me. I am the banana. I was just super excited about making that thing because it sounded like so much fun. And it was just like basically a day off work for me. We just got to go out and mess around with a video camera.
We actually have the banana costume.
What?
And he wants you to do the rest of the interview in the banana costume. Would you be willing to reprise your role, either here or one day down the line?
Maybe we'll save that for like a 10-year reunion or something, like where we get the band back together. Do you actually have it here?
People ask me if I was confident if Fruit Ninja would do well, and the answer I always give, it's like rolling dice, you know. I was hooked on it and it was great, and I'd play it for huge amounts of time and I kept coming back to it. So I thought, okay, if we can get it into enough people's hands, then I think just based on word of mouth, this game's going to do reasonably well. It
took a while before it really started to pick up. I don't know, that's what felt so good, is because you would check it constantly. It would slowly be building momentum and you could see it, see where it was heading.
But the first time we knew it was going to do well was our first release. And then we got an email from Apple in the UK saying they want to feature the game. And I just left home, it was 11 o'clock at night on a Friday. We got the email and they called me, and I came back in and did some marketing assets for it that night and went home at about 2 a.m. If it's getting featured, it must be doing pretty well.
In the Australian market, our local market, the game did very well on its own without a lot of marketing. And I guess the marketing that Phil did, with all the key people that he knew in the press, and that really helped to get that traction. And then Apple saw that it was doing well in Australia and then started promoting it and featuring it elsewhere, and then it just took off from there.
So we hit 1 million, so that was a big milestone. At the same time, it was the first time I'd ever seen someone playing it in the wild. I was at a pub in like some tiny town somewhere as we were road tripping around South Island of New Zealand. And I heard like the sound start up and I thought I was going crazy. I was like, it's just because I've heard it so many times. But there was a dude showing his mates at the bar. And then the next day after that, I went bungee jumping and the guy was making small talk with me before the jump. And he was like, so what do you do? I go, I'm a game designer. He's like, oh cool, have you made something I would have heard of? And I said, oh, I made this game called Fruit Ninja. He's like, oh, Fruit Ninja, I know that. It was literally the first time in my life, well, in my career, that I'd said, this is what I've worked on, and someone said, oh, I've heard of that. Steve and Shath and I had this idea that when we hit 1 million fruit sliced, we were gonna have a party. Like, we're gonna have 1 million fruit slice party. And then I think the first time that we checked that statistic, we hit 275 million fruit sliced already. Like, sweet, 275 million parties, woo.
I think we set a goal between Phil, Luke and I of 100,000 copies sold. And when it did, I think there's a little plaque that we made or something, 100,000 copies sold, and then obviously it went on to smash that record many times over. And we stopped making plaques after 1 million, I think.
We never anticipated the success of this game, and not to this, never to that level. We thought we had something. Once we got that game on the device and we had that feel, how it felt on the game, we knew we had something good. But the level that it went to and how 1 billion downloads was never ever a number that we would even dare to think of. And I think one of the things we found was that we were never prepared for success as a company. Like our tech, Fruit Ninja was the second game we'd actually had our tech and tools been able to get a game onto an iPhone device. The first one was Blast Off, and it was just, oh, can we make our engine work for iPhone? Oh yeah, it's working, you beauty. And then within like 2 weeks, we've got everyone screaming on Android and Windows Phone and Nokia and Samsung and Facebook. They all want it. Everyone wants it on their platforms. Like, we only just got it working on iPhone. That's been one of the biggest challenges we've had, is the success. You dream of the success, that's what you want, that's what we're here for, is that making those great games that people love playing worldwide. That's what you dream of as a game developer. But you don't think of the repercussions of that and what the implications are of a functioning studio and trying to keep that alive and healthy. And it's really testing, and I think I'm really proud of the company. Like, we've come a long way from where we were 5 years ago, that's for sure.
If we released Fruit Ninja in the market today, I think we'd have a much tougher chance of getting noticed.
At the time, it worked because it was so simple. You couldn't release a game like that now. In 2015, if you released a game that simple, even catch-up games, like it's really simple, just like touch to dodge things, have like unlockable characters and then advertising and a currency. And Fruit Ninja was even minimal when it came out in 2010 for mobile. Now it would seem like barely even a game at all. It was a bit of a golden age where all you needed was a cool idea and that's all you would make it. Yeah.
I guess the biggest hurdle for us was actually getting into that mindset of producing regular updates, adding new content, looking at what the user feedback was and incorporating that into the game. First
year, just me, Morowitz and Shath, we shipped like 14 updates in 1 year, which is mental. It's absolutely crazy. Well, we made the whole game in 6 weeks. We could do an update in 2 weeks easily.
We were one of the first games to have actual multiplayer on a mobile phone, which was pretty neat. Like, that was a lot of fun getting that together. Pretty stressful because we did it so quick.
There was an update where the game was crashing for like 15% of people right as we got featured. It was a massive deal because we just finally started to get this explosive growth. And we released this update and it just flattened immediately because of all these problems. We started getting all these 1-star reviews. We were in full panic mode. We had this update and We fixed the problem, but Morowitz, because he is a perfectionist, had snuck in this little change. It was a stand-up between me and Morowitz and Shaz. It was like pretty late, there was no one else there, we were just getting ready to submit it. We were talking about this, and it's like, we have to get this change in, but there's also this secret risky change that Morowitz just kind of snuck in. And Shaz said to Morowitz, like, how sure are you that this won't cause problems and that this build's gonna be perfect? And Morowitz is like, I'm 100% sure. And Shaz said to him, like, straight down the line, would you stake your career on it? And Morowitz stopped and thought for like 2 seconds, and he was like, yep. And then we submitted that build. It was pretty tense.
We were just constantly working on it, and then we started working on arcade mode, which took longer than we expected, but worth it.
Like, we loved the 3 modes we had, Classic, Zen and multiplayer. They were all really strong, but we wanted something to come along and just dominate and really change the whole thing, and arcade certainly did that. Like, it really changed everything in terms of just dialing it up to 11.
Arcade mode took 3 months for us to work on, and we went back and forth on it a lot. I was playing a lot of Bejeweled Blitz at the time, and I had like boosts and currency and power-ups in there, which was pretty fun, but again, it was just kind of too hard and too much. And we got almost near to the end, and then Game Center came out, and we stopped working on it and did multiplayer, and then rolled 2 multiplayer updates, and then went back and finished arcade mode. So it was like 3 months of work, but spread out over like 5 or 6 months. In that very first version of it, like, because there's, now there's power-ups and things like that I didn't work on, but for me, arcade mode is probably the most balanced thing I've ever designed. Because it seems simple, but the Blitz system had so many intricacies, and I was really proud of that mode because it was staggeringly complex, but it looks simple, and that's what that's kind of the dream, right? You make something that's really quite complex and involved, but it just looks really simple to people, and they just love it and have fun with it.
Being based in Australia has always made things a little bit more difficult for us, even competing with developers everywhere else around the world. I'm very competitive, and I always know that we can do amazing things and we can compete with the best in the world, and I guess getting the various awards and the recognition that we have has certainly helped prove that. Not just to me, like I always know I could do it, but to the rest of the company too, just seeing what we can achieve when we put our minds together.
It was massive for the company. We all got to keep our jobs. That was really awesome, and we got to expand and hire all kinds of new people like you and you. Definitely. So, and which is awesome. Like, I was so happy that we built something that enabled all that to happen, and it's been a major thing in a lot of people's lives now. It's like for a lot of people, like not just players, but people who worked on it and built their career around it. It built a lot of my career around it. I still get credited everywhere, even though it was quite a while ago, and even though I'm at a different company now. I don't think I'll ever make something that will top Fruit Ninja in terms of something that will be in my bio and my portfolio. Second biggest mobile game of all time, there's not much room above that.
There's probably at least 50 people that have touched it now from that original team of 3. A lot of different teams have come and worked on it. A lot of different teams have taken it to other platforms. You look at the credits now for Ninja, it's nothing like it was before. Before they could fit it on one screen, and that was it. Now we need to scroll and scroll and scroll. Everyone has added their touch and made the game what it is today.
There was me letting go of the game, which was easy at first because I'd worked on it for a very long time. I was very burnt out on it. But then I had to watch other people make changes to it, which I had a lot of issues with. People making different versions of Fruit Ninja, like the Facebook version and things like that, and I would have a lot of issues with it, and I would slowly let that go. And then when Fruit Ninja went kind of down the whole like paying for upgrades and adding characters and brand and universe and story and things like that, I had to, fine, like those things are good for the game, but they're not consistent with my vision of the game. And I understand that, like a lot of that stuff I don't try and get in the way of. I stopped trying to get in the way of it because I recognized that that's what the brand had to do to evolve. But I had to let go of that as a personal thing because you work on a game, it's a very personal experience, and you put a lot of yourself in there, and there's all these little bits and pieces that are a product of of who I am and who Shath and Morowitz are. It's extremely challenging to let go of that at all these different intervals for different reasons. Yeah, it's hard.
I think the studio has changed a lot over the years. I don't think it would be healthy for it to not change and evolve and grow. If you look at where we've come from, you know, from 4 guys in a basement to, you know, now, you know, 100 guys around the world and in Brisbane, you have to grow. You can't stay still.
We were, for a long time, the scrappy underdogs. I mean, we did good work, but we never anything that got us recognised, nothing anyone knew about or cared about. When Fruit Ninja became big, like even the way we carried ourselves, you know, if we were at a conference and someone would say like, what do you do? We were proud of where we worked. We were like, you know, oh, we're Halfbrick. Maybe you haven't heard of us, kind of thing. Let us tell you a little bit about our history, and you know, we're those guys, we're fighting to get to the top. But then when you have that kind of massive success, you can't say, well, we're scrappy underdogs. It's disingenuous. Your attitude changes and all of a sudden there's a lot of eyes on you. You definitely try and keep the kind of spirit and the passion and all of that, but you know, things are obviously going to change. There's no way it can't. And you know, some of it changed for better, some of it changed for worse. It's just a shift. Everything changes.
We've gone through various phases, and at each stage we've sort of you know, adapted new things and evolved and just gotten better each step of the way, you know, like every year that goes by, I look at Halfbrick and I see what it is and I compare it back to what it was, and it's amazing to see that. And when you're immersed in things all the time, you don't really notice it. But then every now and again, I just sort of stop and I look around and I see what's there, and I see how we're doing things and how we are continually improving. And I think it's, you know, it's a great thing. You know, it's a healthy thing, and it's something that we need to continue doing.
I've seen people on trains play it, and maybe I'll be like, oh, they have no idea that I've worked on that game and I'm sitting right next to them. But I won't mention it. I'll let them, you know, keep playing.
In every country I go to, I've seen people who've played Fruit Ninja, and people have asked me what I do, and I tell them that I'm a game designer and that I've worked on Fruit Ninja, and people around the world seem to know what it is, which is pretty crazy.
I feel pretty proud about like, just when I think about how many people have played with the stuff that I've made. Like that's the coolest part, is just thinking, wow.
It's amazing to have a game that, yeah, my grandmother plays, or my auntie, or my sister, or 8-year-old niece plays. That's great, and you know, and everyone else in between as well.
Pride I have for Fruit Ninja is this weird, like, all-encompassing thing that is like pride in my team, that even after I like made a game that was a massive failure, they still had faith in me. The work that Shath and Morowitz and I did, you know, Halfbrick supporting us to make that game, and you know, all the crazy fans and all the people that helped. And it's like this really weird, kind of giant nebulous thing that isn't really encompassed by any single moment or anything. When you go to like a show and you meet like 1,000 fans that say, oh, I love that game, and you swell up and it makes you almost emotional. When it's just like 1 billion and it's just like a number on a spreadsheet, my brain doesn't even really make sense of that. 1 million, 10 million, 100 million, and 1 billion, all of those milestones. You got all of that and like bundled that together. There's this photo from really early on in Fruit Ninja's release. I don't remember, I was putting together something about it, and I found this photo on a Google image search of like a little girl in a cast playing Fruit Ninja in a hospital. Me seeing that picture versus all of those milestones combined, no contest. Like, seeing that one picture was way bigger deal.
I guess you can look at it as capturing lightning in a bottle, and it's, you know, one of those just random sort of hits, but everything we did before that was building up to that. So I think if Fruit Ninja didn't come along, something else would have come along sooner or later. Maybe it wouldn't have been as big as Fruit Ninja, but I think, you know, we were on the path and the trajectory towards, you know, success. And it doesn't happen overnight, right? Fruit Ninja, okay, everyone goes overnight success, but there was like 9 years of work before that, building up to that. Halfbrick would still be here today if we didn't have Fruit Ninja. I think we'd still be working towards our goal. And my goal always, you know, when I started Halfbrick was to build something that's going to be around for a long time, and even around after I'm no longer here. So this 15 years already, it's only a small step on the journey that, you know, I've sort of started on.
The exciting thing about the 5th anniversary update with Fruit Ninja is the biggest update we've ever done. It's got 2 new modes, a 6 minigame challenge, and you'll earn gold apples. These gold apples will then allow you to enter in a tournament mode, which allows you to battle it out against 6 new characters. These characters will get more difficult the further you progress. Once you become the champion of that tournament, you'll be rewarded an awesome golden ember blade that they're going to use to beat all their old high scores with.
Tournament mode is for players who really want to best their skills against the Fruit Ninjas. You can jump in and verse Truffles and see how you go against him, all the way up to Rinjin, the evil student of the Fruit Ninja universe.
The whole versus AI thing spawned from a bot that we created to play through the game for us and get some statistics on how well different combinations of items and things would work. So that's really exciting to see that turned into a full-on feature of its own.
Kind of gives the characters a personality, like they each have their own unique ways of slicing fruit, and so that's going to teach the player some new tricks, I think, as well. We've definitely seen through playtesting that feature is something that people really engage with.
Obviously it's Fruit Ninja, so you want to keep the colour, but then it's Ninja as well, so you've got to have an element of, you know, dark and a bit sort of, you know, cool, that sort of thing.
If you beat all the characters all the way through Rinjin, you basically get the golden ember blade. Whenever you slice a fruit with the golden ember blade, it actually catches the fruit in the air, and for a few seconds it'll hold there and then fall away. And during that time you can slice it one more time, so you can make a 10 fruit combo and then do it the same thing again and make it 20 fruit combo.
The minigames were a bunch of planned tests that didn't actually go out, and we turned it into a bunch of minigames that just were, you know, bite-sized snippets of different features, and I think that's really fun too, because it's a different way of playing Fruit Ninja. We kind of wanted it to be the tournaments sort of serious and a bit more full-on, and then the mini-games are a good kind of breather. That said, a couple of the mini-games are pretty intense when you start getting good at them, so that's kind of fun as well, just because of how different they are.
You know, it takes all the best bits of what the game used to be and now, you know, puts it in like a big pot, mixes it up, and, you know, hopefully people really enjoy what we did.
The change that's going on with this update is massive, so I just think it opens a lot of doors and hopefully it gets people excited to play again.
We work on Bears vs. Art, so we've been working on some cool new anniversary things put into the game. So we put in a Fruit Ninja painting generator because the game is all about art and we wanted to have cool Fruit Ninja paintings in there.
You'll get a challenge in Bears vs. Art, slice 200 fruit themed paintings. Once you complete it, you're actually going to get a Katsuro's costume for Rory to wear.
For the update, we played with a number of different costume ideas. The one we put in was Katsuro's costume, one of the Fruit Ninja characters, and obviously Katsuro's costume is modelled a little bit off a pineapple when you look at it, and it just looks even more like a pineapple when we put it on the bear who's behind me here, just because he's a little bit more round and chunky. The event is timed, and you just have to try and get it in the time that we give you. It's pretty generous, but you will have to kind of work for it if you want this exclusive costume.
We at the Jetpack Jorio team have been working on a brand new mode. Cut and Run is the mode's name. In this mode, you have 60 seconds, much like Fruit Ninja. You have to slice as much fruit as possible. You still play as Barry. We give him the sensei costume and watermelon jetpack. You don't die instantly like you would in a normal jetpack, but when you do get hit fruit basically explodes from your body and you have to try to catch it up again and try to get the highest score.
We've been doing a Fruit Ninja update for Radical Repelling. The most obvious choice was to just do a giant banana costume. Unfortunately, the way our game's set up, it wasn't possible. Our costumes are set up into like headpiece, body piece, and legs. They kind of all had to make sense if you put them, you can like mix and match them with other costumes.
We started with making a list of all the things we would like to see the characters wear.
We decided that doing a sensei outfit and a Gatsu outfit made the most sense inside of Radical Repelling.
What makes these ones actually particularly special is that they have extra effects on them. So with Gatsu, he has a fruit sack. As he's rappelling off the cliff, fruit's just falling out. With Roxy, she's got this cool golden blade and it's got this cool Mr. Sparkle particles just coming off it. And that leaves a nice trail as you go down.
Well, in Chef, which is one of the titles that I'm working on, we did a whole new world, which is Fruitasia, the world where the fruit ninjas live in. The character of Chef, Sherry, she's competing against the ninjas challenges in 25 levels. And all the levels are reskinned to have all of the fruit from Fruit Ninja, all of the sound effects, all of the music, story with Sensei and Truffles and all of the students. So it's really cool to see the two worlds combined. In Top Farm, similar approach, we've got Fruit Ninja content, so all of the farm is now skinned. It's similar to a style like Sensei's Dojo. We've got the characters are now turning up on your farm, so instead of having the truck come in and try and give you a work order for you to complete, you have Truffles pulls in Gatsu's cart, and Gatsu asks you for produce to take back to the ninjas, because obviously the fruit ninjas are running out of produce because they're always slicing it.
What we try to do is really listen to what the fans want and try and give them what they want. So for Monster Dash, that was a pretty easy one because people are always asking for new weapons. And Fruit Ninja offers the opportunity to put a blade in the game. So that was kind of a no-brainer. So we went straight for the blade, and we thought the bombs were a great obstacle to add in as well because they're so quintessentially Fruit Ninja. With Bandstars, we know that people love the studios. Like every time we put a new studio into Bandstars, people have just jumped at it and talked about it a lot. So obviously Fruit Ninja has this awesome art style that we could use, so we went straight for that sort of wooden dojo look for a new studio.
The Bandstars change was fairly straightforward. It didn't involve a lot of coding, but Monster Dash I did a lot of work. That blade is a very different gameplay experience. It's basically a shotgun to begin with because you've got virtually no range on it, and you don't need to reload it because it's a sword. I played it and I thought, well, this is really fragile. You don't feel like an unstoppable ninja. And that was what my job was, to make that feel really, really fun.
I'm Sam White. I am the VP of Entertainment and Licensing at Halfbrick.
My name's Brendan DuBois. I'm a creative director at Halfbrick.
We kind of realised that the entertainment and the licensing and all the products and toys and stuff like that, it's all kind of linked. And it's all outside of the game, it's all reaching people in a different way, providing more content and more ways for our fans to engage.
Currently we're working on taking the original Fruit Ninja game and expanding the universe and fleshing it out a little more.
It's a real privilege actually to work with Fruit Ninja. It's obviously one of the biggest mobile games ever. A couple of years ago we produced some webisodes called Fruit Ninja Origins, and we actually released those last year on our YouTube channel. It's the first time we've introduced characters into the world of the game, really, apart from Sensei. So it was always something that we wanted to do to help give a life to the brand and beyond just the core game. It's really inspired us to do more with characters and the world of Fruit Ninja. We recently have greenlit a series in partnership with YouTube, and we're bringing in another sort of set of characters because we're setting it 1,000 years after the Origins episodes.
We have 4 new Fruit Ninja characters: Ralph, Nia, Seb and Peng. They're direct descendants from the characters in the Origins trailers. The story revolves around 4 kids who discover an ancient dojo underneath their house. The dojo contains some secrets of Juice Jitsu, which is the ancient Fruit Ninja martial art, but the secrets are incomplete.
The show is about 4 fruit ninjas in training who set up a juice stand as a front for like the messiest secret service in the world. We thought we'd like to try something else and take Fruit Ninja into a different time and place than it was in the game, and maybe open up some other opportunities there, for stories and for products and even games.
In another 5 or 10 years, I think Fruit Ninja is going to be around even bigger and better. I think we're going to see a lot more games in the Fruit Ninja universe. I think Fruit Ninja as a game, you know, the classic game that we know today, is still going to be there on some app store somewhere, but there's going to be so many other iterations and versions of it. And then we're going to see so many other things as well, tied to the Fruit Ninja brand and the Fruit Ninja universe, whether it is TV series or movies or toys or all sorts of Fruit Ninja related things. And I think it's going to be one of those evergreen games that's always going to be around, you know, like Tetris or something like that. You know, 1 billion people have downloaded and played this game. You can't even comprehend that in your mind. But for me, I think, okay, well, you know, there's a lot of people that still haven't played this game, and we've got to go out there and get those people on and show them the joy that comes from experiencing Fruit Ninja on their smartphone for the first time. I think the fans are the ones that are going to win because they're going to get a lot more awesome content. And then they're going to see what else is coming down the pipeline in the Fruit Ninja universe too. I guess the thing that I like to say to the fans is, yeah, firstly, thank you for your support and for I guess, telling your friends as well about Fruit Ninja. And my commitment to you is that we're going to continue to support this game for a long time, and we love to hear your feedback, so please keep that coming in. We look forward to, you know, celebrating the 10-year anniversary of Fruit Ninja with you. So thank you again for all your support.
Hey, what's up? Ellie Awesome here. Congratulations, Fruit Ninja, on your 5th anniversary. I love the game, and it's so awesome to see how much success it's had.
It's entertaining because the fruit split open and they're really juicy, and so you're like, yes.
What is up? This is Scott Wynn from the YouTube channel Scott DW, and I just want to say happy 5th anniversary, Fruit Ninja!
Highly addicting. It's like, I don't know what it is about it, but it's endless fun. Fruit Ninja for the win.
It's just easy, like slice a bit of fruit and leave it sit there for the next 20
minutes. It's the perfect game for like a toilet. It's amazing for the toilet. Yeah. I don't know if you want to hear that about you right now, but you guys excel on the potty.
I know like a friend that got really obsessed and like played it for hours on end to like get a really good score.
I love this game so much, and it has become a huge part of my life and my career. A couple years ago, I decided to make a real-life version of the game into a video on my channel, and that video now has almost 30 million views. It has totally helped my YouTube career, my film career, so I am forever grateful to Fruit Ninja and my friends at Halfbrick. So thank you guys so much for letting me be a part of something awesome. Happy birthday!
Now start just boogieing down.